This is a typical 12-mark question that could come up on the exam. The 12-mark question is always asking you to explain why something happened. So this question is asking us to explain why the Labour Party recovered in the 1930s. In other words, why did it get more votes or get more support during that time? As with any 12-mark question in this paper, the best thing to do is, even though the question doesn't explicitly say, what you need to try and include is 3 reasons why the Labour Party recovered in the 1930s. Now, the first thing you should do is try and think on your feet a little bit and think what is happening during the 1930s. We've got the Great Depression going on. We've got the extremes between the communists and the fascists going on. We've also got the approach of the Second World War. All these things are going to have some impact on the Labour Party recovering. But even if we didn't know anything about those things, let's have a look at the revision booklet and see how Labour recovered during this time and see if we can work this into 3 different reasons. Okay, so the first thing to say about this is that it's a time of high unemployment. Look at the unemployment rose to 3 million, with Labour seen as being a workers' party. They're obviously going to benefit from that. So that could be our first point. Our first point could be, the first reason we could have is being unemployment. Many of you did pick up on that in your answers. The second point, if we have a quick look back, there seems to be this thing about the moderation of the party. Clement Attlee took over, he was a moderate. Bevin was a moderate because they didn't want to go into extreme socialism. And maybe communism is becoming more respectable during this time. Also, the Labour Party is becoming more respectable because they're not backing communism. So maybe that's something that we can put here. So we can put more moderate policies. And then finally, there seems to be this great underlying theme that there's a lack of an opposition. That the Liberals are splitting apart, and that any failure to the national government is going to lead to more support for Labour. So we just picked 3 reasons there, and we haven't really talked about their stance on Nazi Germany. We haven't talked about what's happening in Russia. We're going to stick to those 3 reasons and see if we can have enough to back them up and actually write up an answer from those 3 reasons. Remember, it's only a 12-mark question. It should only take you about 12 minutes. It's not something that should take a long time. So let's see if we can evidence these points and then write them up in full sentences. So unemployment, what happened to unemployment during this time? Well, it rose to 3 million in 1932. Okay, so the national government, as you may remember, took over with employment just over 2 million, and now it's already risen to 3 million. Okay, so already we're starting to think that the national government is getting it wrong on unemployment. That's going to be obviously a big boost to Labour, okay, because they're seen as being a workers' party. Let's see if we can back up the other points here. Moderates like Ernest Bevin took charge of trade union affairs, and Clement Attlee took over. Let's borrow those 2 pieces of evidence here. Stick them into our second point. Okay. This thing about a lack of opposition is very important too, because it means they're going to get more support because the Liberals have split apart. Okay. Now you'll see that not all of my points have 3 pieces of evidence, but that's not to worry because we've got enough evidence in there in total to really drive home our point. Okay, so let's see if we can actually start to write this in full sentences, and this is where I revert to the structure that we've been using in lessons. Okay, let's look at unemployment. So there were many reasons why the Labour Party recovered in the 1930s. One of these was the results of the Great Depression and the failures of the national government to deal with them. Do you see how I've referenced some key words there? Great Depression, national government. I haven't got that from the revision book. I've got that from my own understanding, and this is something else as well that you can bring in. Feel free to bring in other stuff to answer this question. For example, unemployment rose to 3 million in 1932. This means that the national government is not dealing with the crisis, and voters will turn to another party to deal with the problems. They will turn to Labour. They would turn to Labour as they were not in the national government. Remember, Ramsay MacDonald broke from the Labour Party to go in. So even though we haven't got 3 different bits of facts and figures in there, we've definitely got enough to explain that point. Okay, so they're going to turn to the Labour Party because of the unemployment. Let's see if we can write the next point up, the more moderate policies. A second reason why the Labour Party recovered was that they were seen as being more moderate. That's my topic sentence. For example, Ernest Bevin took over trade union affairs, and he was known as being a moderate who would not bring back extreme socialism. Got that directly from there. Furthermore, Clement Attlee took over the party in 1935, ensuring they would have a moderate leadership. This meant that we also know as well from the evidence here that they rejected the Crips and the Socialist League. We can put here perhaps. Okay. During this time, Crips and the Socialist League were ejected from the party. This meant that the party would no longer be seen as an extremist party. Remember back in the 20s how the Tories just wanted to show the Labour Party as being a communist party or being linked too heavily to the Soviets. Wanted to bring revolution. Well, look, they can say we've got moderates in charge now. Okay, so I've got a real good topic sentence, some evidence, and I've really explained that. But a moderate democratic one, ensuring more respectability and votes. So we've got 2 really strong points, and the examiners by now are getting very, very excited at what we're doing because they know that we know our stuff and that we're really acing this question. Okay, so the last thing we need to bring in is the fact that there's a lack of opposition. Okay, so there's a lack of an opposition party during this time, and you say try and make it look nice and neat. A final reason why the Labour Party recovered was the lack of an opposition. The national government led to the failure of the Liberal Party. Let's make sure I've got everything in there. And the evidence for that, they had split apart in 1931. This meant that any opposition to the national government would go to Labour rather than the Liberals. And you can almost link this back to what you're saying up there. As the national government failed to deal with the Great Depression, the Labour Party would pick up votes and support, linking it very directly back to the question. Okay. Now, this is, at the moment, absolutely outstanding. We've got 3 good reasons, and really what we just need to do, let's move that out of the way, just to finish it off, is just come to a conclusion, and this could be anything, about what we actually think is the major reason. So we're going to come to 3 reasons. We'll explain them. This has all come from the revision booklet, and we've just finessed it into an answer here. 3 very short paragraphs, but packed full of information and detail. All we need to do then, just to finish it off, is decide which we think either the major reason is, or see if these reasons link together. I might try here choosing what I think is the biggest reason. In conclusion, just to make it very obvious to the examiner, the major reason the party recovered was the increasing moderation of the party. And I'm just going to give a quick reason why. This meant that they were seen as a reliable, respectable party, ready to rule, and that people would not be afraid or worried about voting them into power. Okay, and that's finished it off, and that would be 12 marks out of 12. 3 reasons explained with evidence, and then just one major reason at the end. So hopefully this has shown you how the 12-mark question works, and I look forward to seeing some of your own attempts following this guide at a 12-mark question. As you can see, having a good subject knowledge helps, but when you look at the structure as well, just the 3 reasons and the conclusion, you see it's not they're not asking the earth, they're asking for 3 short paragraphs and a conclusion. So good luck with your efforts.